In this video, I'm going to go over how we get you qualified sales calls booked onto your calendar using SVP Outreach. Now, this is the same outreach strategy used by LeadFuse to grow their company's revenue to $30,000 per month in just 12 months. All right, so what is SVP Outreach? Well, it stands for Scaling Value Adding Personalized Outreach. And it doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but the results do speak for themselves. So as you can see here, what we're effectively doing in this outreach system is exactly as the name implies. We're sending thousands, if not tens of thousands, of personalized messages to ideal clients where our messaging really revolves around adding value. And adding value means a lot of different things, really depending on the service or product that you're selling or the specific industry or the types of customers that you'd be selling to. But by and large, it's offering some type of free resource or offering social proof or a combination of the two. And that's really the biggest differentiator in successful campaigns in 2023 and going into 2024. So who is this for? Well, this is for business-to-business companies that need more qualified sales calls booked onto their calendar. So why does it work exactly? Businesses are already getting dozens, if not hundreds, of messages every single day. And most of the messages that they get are either spam or spammy sounding. They aren't relevant to their business or the problems that they're having, or they simply don't cut through the noise because they don't add any value. And because businesses are getting so many messages, you have to find a way to cut through the noise and do something a little bit different from everybody else. It really is as simple as just maintaining a high volume, and high volume by and large does fix most problems. But if those high volume of messages are also relevant to the person receiving the message, if it's personalized and it's value driven, then that makes for a successful campaign, which means more sales calls and it leads to more closed deals. So in a nutshell, the two parts to outreach are maintaining high volume and making sure the high volume is relevant to the audience. All right, so SaaSwatch books you qualified sales calls onto your calendar in 3 simple steps using SVP Outreach. First, we position your specific offer so you stand out from your competition. We then write scripts that resonate with each individual prospect we're targeting, and we send personalized messages at scale. That's really where the SVP Outreach comes into play. We then manage all replies and book qualified sales calls directly to your calendar. And you only pay for the calls that show up and are qualified. So I'll give an example. Let's say we book you 10 calls onto your calendar and 8 of them show up and are qualified. You only pay for the ones that show up and are qualified, so you'd only pay for the 8. And I'll go over that more in just a minute, but remember, you only pay for the ones that show up and are qualified. And what's great about this system is that it's not just lead gen, right? So yeah, we're booking meetings with qualified prospects, so it is lead gen, but it's also email marketing or advertising because we're bringing attention to the problem that targeted prospects have, and we're highlighting your solution. It's also product market fit research because, you learn about a market through feedback. And if we're sending thousands of messages, we're also getting potentially hundreds or thousands of replies from people, and they're not all just saying, leave me alone. And then you can further pinpoint, the exact types of prospects that want to buy, why they want to buy, and when they want to buy. So you could build this outreach system in-house, and if you have the resources and the expertise in-house, I would actually encourage you to build it in-house. But you would have to hire, more salespeople, SDRs, BDRs, lead gen specialists, email marketing specialists, which, by the way, all costs at least $100,000 to $150,000 each. You'd have to drop thousands of dollars in software, waste months learning the nuances of the process, and spend 4 hours or more per day managing campaigns. Or you could work with SaaSwatch. We'll do it all for you, and you start getting results in 2 weeks. When you work with us, you'll build a fat lead pipeline because more qualified leads means more sales. You'll increase your close rate because more qualified leads means less pressure, and also just having qualified leads instead of just poor leads means you'll increase your close rate because you'll have more qualified people to talk to. You'll let your closers focus on closing. You'll create market awareness and pinpoint the best types of customers to sell to. And you'll have investors reaching out to you for funding or additional funding if that's the type of business that you're in. All right, so how much does it cost? Like I said, we do a pay per show system. So if we book you 10 calls, 8 of them show up, you only pay for the 8 that show up and are qualified. We also have a one-time setup investment or one-time setup fee, whichever you prefer. And there are 2 reasons for this. One is that simply the cost of the software, the cost of doing research for your company, research on your customers, research on your ICP, all the software, the lead scraping, lead intelligence, sending, communication, proxies, and a bunch of other different softwares. Those are all pretty expensive. So that's one reason, is simply the cost. The other reason is that this is a collaborative partnership. So the best way to maximize a partnership is to have both sides with some skin in the game. And that's why I prefer to call it a setup investment versus a setup fee, because it really is an investment. All right, so let's go over very quickly what you can expect with pricing and what you can expect with your return on investment. All right, so these are our packages. This is our main one, our lead gen package. Our setup fee or setup investment is $3,000 and then X number of dollars per show. I'll show you our ROI calculator to approximate how much we would charge per call or per show. If you just want an email consult, we do have that option as well. You receive this email consult automatically. Everything in this package, you receive it automatically included in our setup fee or setup investment. So let's go over a ROI example. So let's say we'd like to work with clients for at least 12 months, right? 12 months. 12 months. And let's say that in this time, we book 100 sales calls. And your specific business, the numbers could change. This is just an example. So we book you 100 sales calls in the course of 12 months. And let's say that 80 of these guys show up and are qualified. All right. And let's say that you convert 15% into sales, which means that over the course of 12 months, we book you 100 calls, 80 of them show up and are qualified. You convert 15% of them into sales, which means over the course of 12 months, you will have made 12 additional sales. All right, what kind of revenue are we talking about here? Let's say that at your company, your average customer lifetime value is $30,000. All right. Which means some would be more, let's say 40,000, some would be worth less, let's say 20,000, but the average is $30,000. So let's say that that keeps consistent for these 12 new sales. So 30,000 times 12 means that we will have earned you an additional $360,000 in revenue. Pretty good, right? But you're probably asking, okay, of course I'd love to have an additional $360,000 of revenue, but how much does it cost? So again, we charge a one-time $3,000 setup fee, all right? And if your average customer lifetime value is $30,000, we would charge, again, only for the guys that show up and are qualified, we would charge around $400 per meeting, right? So 400 times 80 meetings is $32,000, which comes out to a total of $35,000. All right, now you just have to ask yourself, would it make sense to invest $35,000 to make an additional $360,000? For most companies, it probably would make sense. Maybe not for every company, but for most companies, it would make sense. All right, that sounds great. But what if, I don't know, something crazy happens, aliens come to Earth, and the aliens really want jobs, so you have to, for the Earth not to be annihilated, you have to hire aliens to be your salespeople, and they're not really good, so your close rate drops to 5%, right? So instead of making, let's see, 80 meetings we still book, you close 5% of them for 4 sales, which means with an average customer lifetime value of 30,000 times 4, that would be still an additional $120,000. And you'd only have to invest, again, $35,000 to do it. Or let's say that aliens don't come to Earth, but there's recession or something. Your sales rate still drops to 10%, or your close rate drops to 10%. And instead of 80 of these guys show up, only 50 show up. So 50 meetings times a 10% close rate would result in 5 sales. That would mean an additional $150,000 of revenue. All right, that's still pretty good. And you wouldn't have to spend $35,000 to do it because you only pay for the 50 that show up and are qualified. So you'd only have to pay, let's see, 50 times 400 is 20K. Plus the setup fee is 23K total, right? So you'd only invest 23K to make an additional 150. Or let's say that the average customer lifetime value for those 5 sales drops from 30,000 to 10,000 for some reason. You still would make an additional 50K, and you'd still be doubling your money. So the point is that you can reasonably expect around a 10x return on your investment. So if you want to get an approximation for how much we would charge per meeting, you can go to our ROI calculator here. So just type in your average customer lifetime value or an estimate. So I use the example of 30K, and it would come to what we would charge, a little over 400. And again, this is just an approximation. All right, if you think your company is a good candidate to work with us, click the button down below to apply for a 30-minute discovery call. We only have the capacity to take on 2 more clients right now, so don't wait. And if you're thinking, well, what if I jump on a call, get sold something, but we don't get the results? Our guarantee is that if we're not getting results after the first 30 days, we will refund the one-time setup fee or setup investment. We're confident in our sales process that if we don't think that we can reliably get results with you, then we simply won't start working with you. I alluded to this earlier that we are a done-for-you service, but it really depends on collaboration. So our main goal is by the end of our partnership for your company to continue getting great results without us. The best and easiest way to do this is to be transparent and to communicate. So on our end, that's really what we strive for, is to be transparent and to communicate as much as possible. All right, so quick summary. What you get is SVP Outreach done for you, meetings booked onto your calendar with your ideal clients, the email best practices PDF, as well as in-depth video explanations for email campaigns and setup. So these 2 you would get right after we receive the initial one-time setup fee or setup investment. You'll receive that the same day, as well as our personalized email or outreach strategy. What it costs is a $3,000 one-time setup investment and X number of dollars per meeting booked onto your calendar. Again, our guarantee is if we're not getting results after the first 30 days, we'll refund the entire setup investment or setup fee. And we are not for the following companies. Companies unwilling to share or create sales assets like case studies or short videos or whatever else. Also, we cannot work with companies who are unwilling to play the long game. All right, so you can apply for a discovery call by clicking the button down below or email us at warmleads@saaswatch.org. Thanks so much for watching, and I can't wait to start building with you.